Hey y'all, I'm Corey, a naturalist and writer from San Antonio, Texas, here with my naturalist in training. But I want to welcome you to another Texas Nature Journal entry where I introduce you to Texas native shrub, Agarita. It's most known for its very prickly, kind of gray-green leaves, which in nature offers protection to other plants so that they can establish themselves before they are nibbled away. The Agarita is wonderfully fragrant in spring with yellow flowers and produces berries that feed birds or humans in late spring and early summer. The Agarita is a resilient, drought-resistant understory evergreen that, while prickly, can offer a significant benefit to your Texas native landscape. But before we dive into the details as to why and how to bring the Agarita home into our own landscapes, I think it's worth spending a little time in the field in some natural spaces to see what more evolved Agarita might look like. Okay, so the first place that I wanted to bring y'all is a really excellent small park here in northern San Antonio, Crownridge Canyon Park. And so here behind me, you can see an Agarita that is much more fully formed. Here we are in early May at this point, so starting to encroach on mid to late spring. And this bush here is absolutely flush with red berries. I gotta imagine that this Agarita here catches a lot of sun, and typically it is in full sun, kind of overcast today when I am here. Okay, another example here at Crownridge that I think really puts a nice display on the Agarita's growth pattern is this one here, where this Agarita is just on the edge of a much more densely covered area. It's on the edge of the understory, so it has access to significant direct sun. And you can see this Agarita here is quite profuse in its growth, quite full, quite dense. The second place my naturalist in training wanted to take you, because it has a myriad of Agarita in a lot of different settings and contexts, is Phil Hardberger Park, another park not quite as far north as Crownridge Canyon, but pretty far north in San Antonio, all things speaking, and really rather comfortably set on the Edwards Plateau, sort of, you know, the entry to the hill country region, where it's predominantly rocky soils here, a lot of limestone. And so you can see Agarita thriving in a number of different settings here as well. For example, here, Agarita is essentially curling around this hackberry tree, growing up it in a way, almost like it's a vine. It's most certainly not, but the Agarita has a very interesting kind of reaching growing trajectory, and I think that is largely in part due to its desire to seek out the sun. So this is around a trail edge here at Phil Hardberger Park, and you can see the new growth of the Agarita almost reaching out to the trail to try and catch as much light as possible. And then this next example here at Phil Hardberger Park, there's something of a savanna, a grasslands here near the west entrance of the park, but you can see Agarita still has that kind of reaching growth trajectory, but it doesn't need to reach around edges and corners like the Agarita that are protected under the canopy of much larger trees, the hackberry here, the ash juniper, or something similar. Very dense here, very, very profuse, very full with red berries here at this time of year. I think more dense, I'd say, than that other Agarita, even that has that access to significant light at the edge of the understory there, but certainly a different growth habit. So something to think about as we place the Agarita and attempt to utilize it in our own landscape. All right, y'all, welcome back to our landscape. Let's hit a few other details at a high level. Other common names include the Agarito, the wild currant, Laredo, Oregon grape. There are a few others. Its Latin name is Mahonia trifoliata. Can reach 3 to 6 feet, maybe 8 to 10 feet, as maybe you saw in some of the video before. So where is the Agarita native? Well, the Agarita is highly concentrated in south central Texas, but observations of it have been made as far west as New Mexico and central Arizona, and as far north as the Texas Panhandle. As well, it can even be found as far south as central Mexico. Okay, some benefits of bringing the Agarita home into your own landscape. First, I'd say the early fragrant spring blooms. So as mentioned already, the Agarita is one of the earliest spring bloomers. The yellow blooms in spring have a really wonderful smell. If you walk some trails in San Antonio during the early spring where Agarita is abundant, the smell of the Agarita blooms really does take over, and it's quite pleasant. It's as well an attractive and interesting looking shrub. It's an attractive plant, offers visual interest in different ways. In spring, it's those yellow blooms. Later on, it can be full of those bright red berries. And as well, you won't lose the leaves as it's an evergreen shrub, so you'll continue to have this interesting look all year round. Lastly, it can act as some natural fencing. So the Agarita is seriously prickly. While you won't be picking spines out of your fingers like you would touching a Texas prickly pear, unless spineless, stepping barefoot on a fallen Agarita leaf by surprise is really quite intense, speaking from experience. But likewise, as it grows larger and more dense, it's quite impenetrable. For wildlife, the benefits, because of the sharp leaves on the Agarita, this plant can offer protection to younger plants so that they can get established before they are eaten by other wildlife. This is why the Agarita is considered a nurse plant. So it saves many young saplings in the central Texas area from the abundant and well-fed deer population. Also, the Agarita clearly offers some good shelter as it grows. It offers this protection to smaller mammals and birds, as a mature Agarita can really offer excellent cover, and that can be all year round because it is an evergreen plant. I've seen northern mockingbirds pick the berries off them, and likewise, they like to nest closer to the ground, so the Agarita might help create the conditions for a suitable nest for that bird. And of course, it's a food source. So Agarita's berries in late spring and early summer can be a food source for songbirds, or for me and you. And they're a bit tart, but they're still very sweet. Finally, those flowers are also a nectar source. As it's one of the earliest spring blooms, it plays a really critical role in that early portion of the season, phasing out of winter for bees and many other insects before everything else comes into bloom. All right, so on to planting and care. Where is the best place to plant an Agarita? Well, it's an understory planting, and you can put it under established trees. So if you really want to, you can consider putting it under live oaks, often an issue for people to figure out what to plant under those large established trees. But the key here is to find where you have really strong pockets of light that come through either early morning as the sun is lower in the sky, or likewise in evening. So the Agarita can still get some intensity of that sun if you are choosing to plant it under the canopy of some of those larger trees. For example, according to Jill Noakes in her really wonderful book, How to Grow Native Plants of Texas and the Southwest, Agarita, in her words, will form larger, more well-shaped plants in full sun, and I think we saw that earlier anecdotally. I'd verify that. Last bit of consideration on the moisture levels, as the Agarita is well adapted to drier areas of the Texas Hill Country, limestone, thin soils, rocky, dry soils. Think about what points on your property are drier. The Agarita is not a shrub that likes to get its feet wet and keep them wet, and so if you are in an area where a lot of water accumulates, make sure that you do have the matching intensity of sun throughout different parts of the day so that the Agarita can be sure to dry out. As for the care and maintenance for your Agarita, things should remain rather simple. A freeze-hardy, resilient plant. For folks with predominantly clay soils like myself, make sure to be more mindful about where you plant it. But outside of that, the only thing that you need to do from pruning, maybe you could shape it if you'd really like to. It doesn't seem to be its natural growth pattern, but just remove dead wood as is necessary. But because the Agarita is so prickly, I definitely advise doing that job with gloves. Some potential companions for the Agarita shrub. It's a very versatile plant for your landscape and natural areas. It will have abundant companions as well. It's a virtuous friend of many plants out in the natural spaces. But I've seen an Agarita under live oak trees, anaquas, mesquite, ash, juniper, or smaller understory trees like a Texas mountain laurel, Texas persimmon, or Mexican buckeye. To fill in space around the Agarita, I've planted chili pekin in a shadier space. You could also plant scarlet sage, Turk's cap, pigeonberry, or Barbados cherry. As for medicinal edible uses for the Agarita, first and foremost, there's the small berries, of course, that we talked about quite a bit. They can be made into a jelly or even a wine. You can, of course, eat the berries right off the bush. However, given the prickly nature of the Agarita's leaves, this is definitely a task to either perform with gloves or, as some suggest, you can lay a bed sheet or blanket underneath the bush and beat the Agarita with a stick, and the berries should come off. I haven't done this myself yet, but definitely will be something that we'll have to try in the future. The redder the berries are, the better they'll be. Authors of Foraging Texas, Eric Knight and Stacy Copeland, suggest that the berries are typically best in early summer. As well, the wood of the Agarita is actually yellow, kind of a strange fact. And according to another great book, Edible and Useful Plants of the Southwest by Delina Toll, the wood of Agarita is yellow because of the presence of the alkaloid berberine. And so the wood can be used as a light yellow dye, but as well, Toll identified that there's been research done in China and Korea to show that the berberine has the potential to treat diabetes, breast cancer, and potentially other diseases too. One final note, due to the alkaloids present in Agarita berries, it's recommended to not eat the berries raw in significant quantities. As for propagation, it seems growing Agarita from seed is a very long and arduous path, and unless you're a serious grower, I wouldn't advise it. It seems as if highest success rates are reported from hardwood cuttings. These cuttings should be taken in winter, should be taken about 5 to 6 inches, and then ultimately placed in a rooting bed and kept under intermittent mist. You can add rooting hormone to ideally increase your success rate. All right, y'all, that's all for now on the Agarita. For more details and resources not directly mentioned in this video, visit the accompanying page at ensembletexas.com. That'll be linked in the description below. Please, of course, don't hesitate to leave comment with your own experience observing Agarita or working with it in your own landscape. If you want to get started with Texas native plant landscaping but aren't really sure how, definitely check out my cheat sheet at ensembletexas.com. That will introduce you to what first steps I wish I took a few years back when getting started. All right, y'all, until next time.